The new year is here, but before we can kick it off properly, we have to look at what the year was in 2024 and look at our top 10 best pickups of the year. Let's get right into it. Welcome to the most passionate content for card collectors on YouTube and possibly the whole entire internet. As usual, I am your host, Jake Roy, 90s B-Ball Cards here, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, maybe TikTok, maybe a little bit longer, maybe not. We'll see. We'll see what happens there, and Threads, and who knows what other social media platforms might pop up, and I may be on. All right, so today, yes, we're going into my top 10 pickups of 2024. So really excited to put this together, and this is going to be an interesting list. It's a year that I didn't go to many shows. I didn't go to the National. I usually have 1, 2, sometimes even 3 pickups that were big ones from the National. This year I wasn't there, so we'll see how this one compares to some of the prior top 10s of the year, and we'll also see how it compares to 2025. So I'm really excited to share this with you, get your thoughts, and see what you think about these pickups. So let's get right into it. All right, here we go. Let's start off with number 10 on the list for 2024. We've got the 96-97. This is the Bowman's Best Cuts Atomic Refractors. Yes, this is an SGC 8. And this might be one that you're kind of surprised to see on the list. It is the last one that I needed in the run of all of the 96 Bowman's Best cards for Penny. And it just kept eluding me. It was one that I wasn't really prioritizing, and then when I kind of looked through my collection, did a little inventory, filled out the checklist, this was one of those gaps that I was like, I need to fill this. So went and grabbed this. It's one that I'll probably upgrade at some point in the future. The 8 is probably because there is significant greening, which does bother me. There weren't any copies available at the time that I got this that were of decent prices that look better. Now you'll see if you go and look at the comps, these things do go for significantly higher prices when you find a copy that has less green or pretty much no greening, even if they're not graded. So that is definitely something that I'm going to look to upgrade at some point in the future. Again, since this one wasn't one that I had prioritized, and part of the reason was because it's really hard to find them without any green. So at some point I'll probably just keep a search out there and check it every so often, and hopefully I'll replace this at some point with a copy that's got less green. But this one roughly is about $100 card. Again, they'll bounce around depending on the condition, greening, all that type of stuff. But happy to finally get that gap in the collection filled up. Number 9. This one has got quite a story. So we have got the Upper Deck Wild. This is the silver parallel number to 100. So you see a little bit of die cut there that is not on the base version. The serial numbering and the foil is a different color as well. And then you've got some nice hollow foil in the background there. So, Suns card, not stuff that I typically prioritize as highly, but this is, this is the Suns uniform that I prefer if I'm going to get a card in my collection of Penny and the Suns. And this is one that I had actually won PSA 9. This was probably about a year or more ago. Won the auction. It was on eBay. I paid the seller, and I knew that the seller was overseas, so I knew I would have to be pretty patient. And I was patient. I was very patient, and I did not see any updates on the tracking for a while, well over a week. So I reached out to the seller. All of a sudden, tracking got updated, and then nothing. There's no information on the tracking, that was getting updated. It was just, there's a tracking number that was a valid tracking number, but it didn't seem like whatever tracking number was affixed to a parcel didn't get sent out, didn't get anything. So I kept reaching out every so often, and after about a month, eventually, I think it might have actually been 2 months, eventually the seller told me that they had shipped the package to the wrong person, which didn't really justify why the tracking information never got updated or never showed any progress. But regardless, I did get a full refund. I was still upset because I would prefer the card. And then that same card showed up for sale on Facebook from somebody else. It definitely seemed like a situation that, is a horror show for a lot of collectors. Card sells for less than a person thinks that they're going to sell it for. They do some underhanded stuff and they end up selling it off of eBay. So that person who had it on Facebook knew nothing about that transaction. They didn't do anything wrong from everything that I could tell. But anyway, this was a card that I was on the hunt for, and I found it. I can't remember the platform. It wasn't on eBay. It was somewhere off of eBay. But regardless, it was one because of all those issues. I definitely wanted to get to kind of get that sour taste out of my mouth. So really glad to have this, number to 100. This one's probably 105, 110. In raw condition. Probably not one I'm going to send for grading. Not because of any issues with the condition, just not one that I prefer to have graded. The PSA 9 was just because that's what I found it in when I won that auction, but having it raw doesn't bother me either. So really happy to have secured that. All right, number 8. This is 2 for 1 here. We've got the 99 2000 Topps MVP promotion. We've got 2 versions because Penny showed up in that set twice, once with the Magic and then once with the Suns as well. And this is one, if you are familiar with the channel, if you're familiar with my collecting journey, you're probably pretty familiar with these cards, because this is one that has eluded my grasp for a very long time. So these are short printed to 100. These were redemption cards, so you flip it over on the back, it gives you all the rules. It tells you here that each one of these is printed just 100 copies. These got discarded. People didn't really care too much about them. They've gotten damaged, lost to the sands of time, all kinds of stuff. There was a copy of the Magic that I was bidding on, I think it was back in 2017. I'll probably pull it up. It went for like $30. At that time, I didn't realize fully the scarcity of these cards. I hadn't actually read all of the verbiage on the back to know that they were short printed just 100 copies. So I didn't bid high enough, obviously, and then sometime later I learned how scarce they were, and I was really kicking myself that I didn't bid higher. So it's been something I've been trying to hunt down ever since I saw the Suns version sell on eBay I think it went for $170, which is a little bit higher than I would anticipate it would go for if it was at auction. But again, sometimes you put stuff out there for best offer. If it's something that somebody wants enough, they will pay the price. That seemed like the case because it sold very quickly. A collector friend of mine did tip me off to that one. I had seen it. I was hemming and hawing by the time I had made up my mind that I was going to purchase it. Somebody else had already done the same thing. So I would have paid that price if I had to, but I didn't have to. Luckily, I found someone else who had posted, I think, what was the entire run of MVP promotions of Penny on eBay. These 2 were included. I reached out to them on Instagram. We made a quick deal. He actually picked these up on ComC many years ago for pennies on the dollar of what they're selling for now. So we closed the deal through Instagram. Very happy to have gotten both of them. I would have been happy to just get the Magic one. If I had gotten just the Suns, I would have still been on the hunt for the Magic. If I had gotten just the Magic, I probably would have deprioritized the Suns, but getting them together really is ideal and something I was happy to do. So really happy to have these. So I had mentioned, this one sold most recently for $170. I don't know if it would sell for that much if it went up for auction. The Magic usually goes for a little bit more. It gets a lot more eyeballs or a lot more attention from penny collectors than the Suns one. But with that being said, I would guesstimate probably around the $120 range, but you never know when stuff goes to auction. It could go for more. All right, next on the list, another Suns one. We've got the 2001, 2002. Actually, I think this is wrongly labeled. I think this is the 2000-2001. Regardless, Ultimate Collection, or Ultimate Victory, the Ultimate Collection Parallel. This one is serial number 2, 100 copies. This happens to also be in a PSA 9. And this is one that I had picked up fairly late in the year, showed up on eBay, and I put it on my watch list. I, figured out what price I was willing to pay for it. I can't remember off the top of my head what I paid for it, but you could probably it's easy enough between the serial number on the card and the serial number on the slab to find the comp, I'm sure. So really happy to have gotten this, really happy to have won, at a pretty favorable price for my estimation. So I think this is probably about $120, $150 card, roughly. Again, there's only 100 copies, PSA 9. I don't know what the pop count is on it in that grade, but happy to have it. I really love the pattern on these. I think the Ultimate Victory is a set that doesn't get a lot of buzz just because it had a short run. It's trying to be kind of like a chromium version after Ionics had faded out for the Upper Deck Company, but Topps Chrome, Topps Finest still reign, and the same was true then. But some of these really do look cool, and there's some really, really cool one-of-ones. So you've seen, I've picked out a few of the pennies in recent years, and happy to be checking those off the list. Again, it's got the Suns uniform that I am agreeable to. All right, the next on the list, number 6, I believe, is where we're at. Another Suns one, so you're seeing a lot of Suns this time. We have got the 2000-2001 Stadium Club Beam team of penny. These are just gorgeous. Some people say these are the best looking Beam teams that they've made, but they don't get as much attention because Jordan's not in it. Some people say that these are best because they're serial numbered. If you look over on the back, serial numbered just 500 copies. It doesn't seem that low today, but back then it was still pretty low. And for there being 500 copies, these do not show up nearly as often as you'd anticipate. Not saying that there were less than 500 copies made, I'm just saying these don't show up terribly often. So it's a card that I've wanted in my collection because it is a gorgeous Beam team. And Penny, in terms of Beam teams, he really just has that 1 year, his rookie season in 93, that he was in the set, and he was left off of the other ones. 94 was a little bit of a down year in terms of design, in my opinion. 95 was an incredible year. Shaq was in there for the Magic. Penny did not make the list, and I don't think they made these cards after that until this rendition, but I could be wrong. Correct me in the comments if I am forgetting the year. But ever since obviously he wasn't in 92. So just gorgeous. I love the laser cuts. I love the kind of refractor finish on there. Again, wish he was in the Magic uniform, but I'm not mad. I'm glad to have gotten it. I had the Michael Finley as a placeholder. I moved that once I got this one. No need to have both of them because Penny was the main one I was after anyway. All right, number 5, halfway through the list, switching it up from somebody other than Penny. We have got the 96-97, I believe this is. Yeah, 96-97 Fleer Ultra Full Court Trap of Jordan. This is the gold parallel. And these are fairly hard to spot. So there's some telltale signs. If you're looking for the gold, you're probably telling yourself, like, this looks like it's green. Some of the verbiage here on the card looks bronze, if anything. What are you talking about? This is gold. Well, it's easier to see if you have them side by side, but essentially you can look at kind of like the depressions in the weight, if you will. They look a little bit more yellow or goldish. The set, I can't remember exactly how many colors they have in the base, but I think there's like 3 or 4 different colors, player by player, and each one of them has a gold parallel. There is a base, I think, of maybe Gary Payton and Horace Grant that's gold in the base, and then there's a gold parallel as well. So that one gets even more tricky to figure out. But these are cards that have soared in popularity from really. It seems to me, I don't watch these closely. It's one that I've wanted for a little while, but it seems like this year they really took off. A lot of people love the edge-to-edge foil, so there's a lot to enjoy, but a lot of the other players did not take off, but the Jordan seems to have taken off. So right now I think it's hovering right around $200, $220. In some cases it can go for more. I've seen some copies sell for like $300 or more. Some copies selling for like $150 or so. But they've taken off since I purchased this one anyway. And if I remember correctly, I purchased it toward the beginning of the year. I think it was a fairly bad listing. I think the pictures were not terribly good. So I think I was just kind of right place, right time. But really happy to have gotten this. Full Court Trap is a set that I don't have any PC players in. I would like to get one of each color, and sometimes when I don't have a PC player, it's nice to get the Jordan if I can. There's a Horace Grant, as I said, that I do have the gold of, but in terms of the green, the Jordan was the guy to get, so glad to have gotten that one. All right, number 4, again, not a penny card this time. We'll get the 97-98. This is the EX 2001 Essential Credentials Now of Ron Mercer. So this is the most most prevalent version of Ron Mercer. Anyway, there's 80 copies of these. You flip it over on the back, so it's one of the, there's two cards on either end, the now and the future, that are going to be numbered to 80. And Ron Mercer is the one for the now. I think Grant Hill is the one for the future. So probably the easier one to track down in this set, but happy to have gotten it. Again, this is a placeholder. Someday I will get the penny. Hopefully. There's only 4 of them, in existence, and I know where 1 or 2 of them are. So, really hard to track these down, but these are gorgeous. Happy to have gotten it. I did get it raw. I then graded it. It's always good to get these slabbed just for authentication purposes. The 6 is not anything I'm too jazzed about, but it's all right. I believe I did see a 6 sell fairly recently, actually, for, I want to say $300 or so. So I would guesstimate this card is probably worth right around $300 price point. But again, it's one that the colors actually work fairly well with the Celtics uniform, so it's not too garish, at least for my eyes. So, happy to have gotten this, and someday I'll get that penny. All right, we're up to number 3 on the list. We have got the Stadium Club Triumvirate Illuminator. This one is from 1998. I've talked a lot about the 1997. These are also very scarce, very beautiful. They've got all the same properties. They've got extreme die cuts, laser cuts. They've got the refractor finish on the front as well as the back, and it is an acetate cardstock. So, you're getting all the same visual cues. I do feel as though the refractor is not as easy to see, especially on the back, as it was the year before. That could just be me. It could also be because there's just more of the card cut away, less surfaces for it to refract off of. This is also one that I don't love as much. You can see a lot of people talk today about, especially Topps with their basketball products and airbrushing jerseys. You can tell this jersey is airbrushed onto penny. This was when the Magic were changing their jerseys, so they airbrushed the new style, or what they thought was going to be the new style. But you can tell it's not the same as what it would have looked like in a live picture. But that's okay. But it does take away a little bit aesthetically. I think they would have been just fine putting Penny in his old uniform. I don't think anybody would have been really that upset. But at the time, Topps, especially with the Stadium Club brand, really like to have the most up-to-date players in their most up-to-date jerseys. So that's one of the things that they did. Again, this one in a PSA 9, it just happened to come up. This is one that I've been wanting for a while, but it just doesn't show up very often. And again, PSA 9, it's a nice little cherry on top. So I would guesstimate this is probably about a $300 card. Again, it's one that I got off of eBay. You could probably go and check the serial number and find the comp. I can't remember exactly what I paid for it, but I would guesstimate if I was to resell it, which I'm not going to, it'd probably be around $300 price point right now. All right, number 2. We have got the 97-98. This is the Skybox Metal Universe Platinum Portrait in an SGC 9 of Penny. This one, I was debating whether to include this on the list, and purely because this is just an upgrade of a copy I already had. I already had a raw copy. It had a little bit of a ding, not anything too major, but I remember when I got it in the mail, I was a little bit disappointed. I went back to the listing, I looked, I said, oh yeah, I could see it if I was, paying closer attention, but it's not the easiest to have seen. In raw, sometimes you didn't see it if you had it at the right light. Anyway, that stuff would bother me at times when I was looking at the card. I would always be like, oh, I'm so happy to have this card, but I wish it wasn't damaged. So anyway, this showed up in an SGC 9, and I had just sold another card, so it was almost like a 1-for-1 trade to be able to get this. I set my price that I was going to bid, and I was happy to have gotten it. And then I moved the other copy with plenty of pictures showing the damage to another collector. I was happy to get it, so they didn't mind the damage. This one is one I would guesstimate is probably right around the $400 price point. It's hard to tell, SGC copies, if I switch this over to PSA, and it got a PSA 9, it could be more than that. Could get a PSA 8 or a PSA 7, so who knows. Anyway, I'm just glad that it's in good shape, and happy to have one that I'm not going to look at and be kind of disappointed with the condition of. So happy to have gotten that upgrade. I've gotten a few other upgrades. I typically don't include upgraded copies or stuff like that in these lists, but this is one I wanted to make sure to have on the list. All right, no honorable mentions today. If you want to see the honorable mentions, check out my Instagram. I will show a more expansive list of my top pickups from 2024 in the coming weeks. So look for that on Instagram if you want to see more. But the number one, we have got 98.99 Bowman's Best Fusion Refractor of Penny and Iverson, numbered to just 100. This was a very late in the year acquisition that I was waiting for it to come in. It had to go to the authentication center, I wanted to make sure it was here in hand to include in the video. I've obviously taken out of the eBay authentication packaging with the exception of this team bag, so I'm going to do that on camera with you right now, because once the seal is broken, it is voided as far as the eBay authentication. So I'm going to take it. I just decided I'd wait to do it with you. So let's bust into this together. And now we can enjoy it without the glare of that team bag. And it is a beauty. It's one that, I had a copy with Isaiah Ryder and Michael Finley. Again, as a placeholder, I really wanted this Penny because it's got my two top PC guys. Penny and Iverson just so happen to be featured on the card together. And these, again, they do not show up. They're so hard to track down. There's just 100 copies. The atomic refractor version, I think there's just 25 if I remember correctly. So those, very rarely, if ever, show up. But definitely someday I'll want to get one. It is interesting though. I am noticing the card is sticking out of the penny sleeve. It's inside the card saver, but out of the penny sleeve a little bit. So I'll have to adjust that and correct that. I did see Kyle from Wax Museum recently had one of those Prism Decas come in, and it was completely out of the penny sleeve and out of the card saver at the top. So I'm seeing a similar issue as he is, but not as egregious. Anyway, I am just so happy. I'm so over the moon to have gotten this card. So this is the top pickup for me of the year. One where I did not go to many shows. I did not go to the National. Those are really the opportunities I usually get big cards, and this one came in right at the end of the year. So it would have been a fine year without this, but it is definitely a great year. All right, so that was the top 10 pickups for my PC in 2024. Really looking forward to 2025. There have been a couple of PC pickups that I've already been bidding on that I've been narrowly missing, so there have been some really nice ones that could be potential ads early in the year that I have just not been able to land. So it's looking like 2025 might be off to a good start in terms of what's available. The question is if I can land it. Plans are to go to the National, so we'll see if I can land some nice stuff there and see lots of great pickups in addition to the PC. But let me know in the comments, what was your top couple, 1, 2, 3, 4, however many you want to share, top pickups for your PC this past year. I would love to hear about it. I'd love to see it. Tag me on Instagram if you share them there, whether it's a picture or a video or what have you. I always love seeing what people add to their PC in the year. So love to see what you get. Love to hear what you think about what I got. And as always, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss any videos in the future. New videos dropping once a week or so as time allows. We've got looks into my PC, 90s pack openings, occasional collector interviews, occasional show reviews, and so much more. Thanks. We'll talk later.